Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. We're going to talk about the comic book industry and its shift into creator-owned content. Everybody's scrambling to get into creator-owned content, including DC Comics, including IDW. We're going to talk about that because this is the future of comics for most people, getting away from corporate comics. And YouTubers have been telling you this. Not just us, but lots of people have been telling you this for 3 or 4 or 5 years now, and you didn't listen. And now it's becoming clearer and clearer that if you're gonna make a viable living in comics, you're probably gonna have to go independent because, corporate comics, Marvel and DC, they don't pay very much and they're sort of subject to the whims of their corporate owners. And, what's going to keep comics alive and make it viable for people working on comics is independent comics. Small press, self-published stuff, crowdfunding. We're going to talk about that. And in particular, we're going to talk about IDW shifting into creator-owned content because it's very curious. We have some stories. Anyway. Let's talk about that. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 236,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. Greatly appreciated. And, check out Clownfish Studios. That's our second channel. We've been doing gaming videos over there, but we're going to move our art content and basically all the fun stuff. We're going to move it over there. And this channel is going to be strictly news and opinion. So all the fun stuff, gonna go over there, check it out for sure. Anyway, I have to give a hat tip to CCG who sent this over, I think yesterday, that is it Nachi Marsham? I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but he's one of the new bigwigs over at IDW, and they want to be home to creator-owned comics. Now, IDW is not doing well. They just signed a deal with Penguin Random House. They've cut ties with Diamond as their exclusive distributor, right after Marvel. But IDW has been hemorrhaging money for years. Hemorrhaging money. And they're kind of prepping this company to sell it or something. I know one of their board members said that they should, ditch this company as fast as possible. And their business model so far has been licensed stuff. They do have some in-house IP, some creator-owned stuff from years ago, like Lock and Key, and they did get a Netflix deal, for that. But most of their content has been licensed. Hasbro licensed content. They're doing Sonic the Hedgehog now. They're doing Ninja Turtles, and they're doing okay with that. But again, you don't own it. And you have to give those toys back when you're done playing with them. If the licensing agreement is up, and we saw what happened with Marvel and Star Wars, Disney pulled the license, from them. That they're not going to be doing the kid-friendly Marvel and Star Wars content anymore. So we know that they could lose, this stuff at any point in time. They could lose Sonic, they could lose Ninja Turtles, Transformers, G.I. Joe, all that stuff they could lose at any time. So now they want to pivot into creator-owned content. And so it seems like they're going all in on creator-owned content in comics. They just announced a couple of weeks ago that they're going to stop making board games, and board games were actually profitable for them. So this is kind of weird, and it is weird too because I know, I'd done some freelancing for IDW, and about 5 or 6 years ago we tried pitching some stuff to IDW, and they said at the time that they weren't really interested in creator-owned content, not as much as they were other stuff. And now they're like, oh yeah, it's all creator-owned. So what's prompting this? Everybody's scrambling to, get people on board with creator-owned properties because everybody wants to do creator-owned independent stuff. Brian Michael Bendis is supposedly getting a Substack deal, or he was offered a Substack deal, according to Bleeding Cool, according to Comics Beat. He was given a newsletter, a pro offer. Yeah, he'd been, he got an offer. Mark Miller is not getting an offer. Adrian Tomine, Optic Nerve is their first artist in residence. So everybody's running over to Substack, to take part in that venture capital money. And, it's upset the apple cart quite a bit. Even in this article From Bleeding Cool, they talk about all the options that creators have now for making independent comics. They said that there are lots of creator-owned series and indie series from Boom, IDW, Dark Horse, Aftershock, Ahoy. I'm not sure who they are. Oni, Comixology Originals, Webtoon, Substack, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. My God, they actually mentioned Indiegogo, Zoop, and Patreon. So there are lots of options to make comics outside of Marvel and DC now. And that's really the future. Now, IDW wants to be home to creator-owned comics. So very interesting. At the Diamond Retailer Summit last weekend, IDW publisher Nashi Marsham had an impressive goal. He wants to see 2022 relaunch IDW as the home for creators to bring their creator-owned comics. Fresh from their newly announced exclusive distribution deal with Penguin Random House, IDW has some notable creator-owned titles, but they're few in number, and most come from the publisher they bought, like Top Shelf. They talked about Lock and Key and Usagi Yojimbo, but they are very few and far between. Like I said, we actually approached them with our agent at the time about 5 or 6 years ago, and they said they were not interested in creator-owned comics. That wasn't their business model. They were going to be, making licensed comics and games and all that. But if you want to chase Hollywood deals, you have to have original IP, right? You're not going to get a Hollywood deal if you're, just making Ninja Turtles books or just making Captain Marvel books or whatever. That's already been done. It's already been locked down. So the question is, will people trust IDW? That's a huge question because, they are, again, hemorrhaging cash. But even Jim Lee at DC was trying to keep people over there saying that, hey, DC's got creator-owned stuff too, guys. Everybody's leaving. They're all leaving. All the creators who can are leaving Marvel and DC, and they're trying to go out and do their own stuff or work for smaller publishers, where there are more rewards, potentially. You wonder why you're not seeing any more new superheroes coming from Marvel and DC. It's because, the creators don't own it. You create a character from Marvel, and they go out and make a multi-billion-dollar movie, and you get a check for $5,000 and a thank you. If you're lucky, if they don't forget about you. That's just kind of how that system is set up, and it's kind of a shitty deal. It really is. So Nashi Marsham is a former executive editor at Disney Publishing Worldwide in the Marvel Press imprint, as well as 8 years in editorial at DC Comics and at Wizard Entertainment. At the Diamond Retailer Summit, he talked about his plans for 2022 and the expansion of IDW across the creator-owned space. Senior editor and former DC Comics, Vertigo, and Black Label editor Mark Doyle has been tagged with the responsibility of tripling down on creator-owned comics to be the best possible home for creators to bring their own work, and he looks to partner with IDW Entertainment to help them exploit their creations. Oh, that's a poor choice of wording. Exploit their creations in other media. He's looking forward to talking in more detail as we get into 2022. Again, will people trust IDW at this point? Anyway, very interesting. Everybody's scrambling to lock down creators as they flee Marvel and DC. Image has been doing it the whole time, but and anybody can get into comics now. Anybody can get into comics. And there's, again, I'll give Bleeding Cool credit for that. They mention a ton of options, Comixology and Webtoon and Substack and Kickstarter and Indiegogo and Zoop and Patreon. Many, many ways to make comics. You do not have to work for Marvel and DC. You don't have to be a wage slave. Their page rates are terrible now. And, if you create anything new for them, you're not going to get anything out of it. There's not going to be any benefit to you. And at any point in time, Disney or Warner could just pull the plug and that could be it. They could decide they don't want to publish comic books anymore and that could be it. You're out of a job. So independent is definitely the way to go. I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later. Shadowbinders is back in stock on shopclownfish.com. That's shopclownfish.com. If you missed our Indiegogo, now's your chance. You can get the books again.